What is up, everybody? Welcome back here to the channel. Today, we're talking Dynasty trades every Tuesday during the season and before the season starts. We're going to go into Dynasty trades, and today, we're talking rookie quarterbacks. So what we're going to do is we're going to be diving into all the rookie quarterbacks, going over, hey, what is J.J. McCarthy's value? What's Caleb Williams' value? What's, Jaden Daniels? Going over 6 guys here, what they're getting valued at, and kind of what their market is. Going to look at real Dynasty trades that have happened, occurred, thanks to Fantasy and all of those leagues out there. So let's get into it. And basically they're in order of, number 1 all the way to 6 in terms of the keep trade cut value. Right now, Caleb Williams is sitting there as QB6. This is the highest I've seen Caleb Williams in the offseason, right before the season starts. A lot of this has to do with what he's been doing in camp. I mean, they absolutely love what he's been doing. We saw him in preseason. He's been crushing that too. I mean, those are the things that are really going to set him apart. When you're talking about trade value for, Caleb and where he is at, when you look at the trades here that you see on your screen, the big thing that I think separates himself a little bit here, there's a lot of good deals in this, right? So the one deal stood out to me, Caleb Williams and a first for Justin Jefferson. These are all super flex trades. And man, I mean, if you're going to pivot off of Justin and you need a quarterback and you get a first back and you think about, what we do here at the channel, we look at next year's class, the 25 class. There's a lot of good wide receivers in that class. Now, Justin Jefferson is a stud. He's a top 3 Dynasty asset for the next 3 years, so there is some risk there. But with where Caleb's being projected, I love the fact that you could get, him in a first for Justin Jefferson. I actually like that deal. I think it's a fair deal according to that. And then if you look at some of these other ones, Caleb and Terry McLaurin for Jamison Williams and CJ Stroud. How close is Caleb and CJ? I love CJ, and I think with the lack of rushing upside, kind of for both of these guys, although Caleb has it a little bit, it kind of similar to CJ Stroud, actually. I think it's pretty fair in this deal where I'd like Terry McLaurin coming back. I like Jamison Williams, and I've always kind of been a Jamison Williams guy, but I think Scary Terry's in for a hell of a year this year. And while I do think CJ is going to be a very, very solid quarterback, again, right, he's a top 5 quarterback in my opinion. Even fantasy, I think he can be in that 6 to 10 range, but so could Caleb, right? I think Caleb could be a back end first, and you get the better asset in Scary Terry there. Some other deals that you kind of look at, Caleb Williams in a second for Justin Herbert and a first. So essentially you're just swapping those first and second. If that first is late, I like getting Caleb Williams. I still like Justin Herbert, but I do like getting Caleb Williams there. Other deals, Caleb Williams in a fourth for Joe Burrow. Give me Caleb Williams over Joe Burrow. I think I'm leaning there. If I can get a pick back for that, I'm totally okay with it. I think he's that talented. What they built around him has been special there. Now, next guy here, Jaden Daniels. So this is the highest he has been in terms of his keep trade cut value. So there at QB10, you see him kind of rise up there in terms of the value there. Really, let's say what it is. Jaden Daniels is rushing upside, right? That's really what you're leaning here. I do think, hey, he's going to be the starter. He's got Terry McLaurin. They did just trade Jahan Dotson, but they're going to throw a lot. I think their defense is not that great. So I think game script wise, you're going to really love that from a fantasy perspective. And then when you look at the deals, Jaden Daniels is a third for Anthony Richardson. That is interesting. I love Anthony Richardson. I do think he has top 5 upside, but if you believe more that Jaden Daniels is a better passer, you swap that for a pick. I think that's a good move. I do. I love Anthony Richardson, though. Like, I would take Anthony Richardson in a vacuum. But if you're not comfortable with where Richardson is at as a passer and you feel like, hey, I can pivot to Jaden Daniels, you do that, right? And I understand that. Another one I thought was interesting, Jaden Daniels and Trey McBride for Josh Allen. So, again, you can go get that elite quarterback, QB1 possibly, or QB2 in fantasy and Allen, but you're giving up Jaden in that rushing upside for Trey McBride. I still say get the elite asset, right? I'm always leaning to the elite asset in Dynasty. But again, just to show you kind of where his market value is, it's definitely fluctuated throughout kind of the leagues. And look at these deals, right? Jaden Daniels and a first for Trey Benson. Man, give me Jaden Daniels all day. Jaden Daniels for Rashee Rice and Bo Nix. Again, give me Jaden Daniels all day. But that is one way you can capitalize on the Bo Nix love out there that's kind of floating around. Go get Jaden Daniels, just add Rashee. Another guy who I like Rashee. Off-field concerns. What is he? Xavier Worthy in that offense, Travis Kelce, all of those things there. And then other deals here, Jaden Daniels and Tyler Lockett for Bo Nix and Rome Odunze. Again, I think that's fair, but I still lean Jaden Daniels the upside, the elite quarterback, right? Bo's look fine. Bo's a fine quarterback, but that rushing upside, I understand where Rome is at, but I do think Jaden Daniels fits there. But his value is fun. I mean, this is the highest we've seen it. Now, next guy is, we're going to dip down a little bit, right? So it's QB10, then going down to QB17. That's kind of where Drake May is sitting at there. QB17, which it's dropped a little bit. As you can tell by basically his value throughout it, it jumped a little bit up there recently, but then it kind of bopped back down. A big part of that is like, is he going to start? With Brissett's injury possibility. I know that Gerard Mayo's talked about him being the second best quarterback, then the first best quarterback. He's all across the board. I do think that May is an interesting buy out there, depending on what you have to give up. When you're looking at some of these deals, as we kind of go through them, Drake May in a second for Justin Fields. Man, give me Drake May all day. I don't know what the hell league is that, but I would take that all day there. Drake May in a first for Trevor Lawrence. I think that's more appropriate value, right? And that's the thing. I like Trevor Lawrence, but I'm getting that first back. If I'm a rebuilding team and I believe Drake May and he can kind of come in at the end of the year and kind of solidify himself as that QB2-ish, right, in that 12 to 14 range. Plus, you get that first asset back. I don't mind moving off Trevor Lawrence for that if I'm a rebuilding team. If I'm contending, I like the idea of getting Trevor Lawrence for Drake May. I just hate giving up that first. I would not feel comfortable with that. Some other deals here as you kind of go through them, like 2 firsts instantly. Dak Prescott, right? Drake May a first and a second for Dak. I think Dak's in for a massive year, but that's a good return for Dak Prescott if you're looking to move off of him. Other deals that you're looking at, Drake May in a second for Kelsey and Joe Mixon. Again, that's more of a contending team. May probably their QB3 or 4, moving off of him, pivoting. I still like May in that deal. So May's kind of in that tweener range. I think that he's a good value, but the guy that's holding him, that dynasty manager holding him on your roster, it's going to be tough for them to move off of him. What probably the capital they gave into him in the rookie drafts. So you're really going to have to make that deal enticing. Next guy here, Bo Nix. He's in at QB19. This is the highest we've seen Bo Nix's value. And I think that, when you're looking at just from a dynasty perspective, and this is where I think people sometimes, first round quarterback rookie drafts was going in the second round. And majority of drafts, he was going second or late first. I drafted him in the league. I needed a quarterback at 110. I got shit for it in the chat, but I drafted him there because I needed a quarterback. And I knew how teams value quarterbacks in that league. And I knew I wasn't going to get one. I tried to trade for one all offseason, didn't work, and it just wasn't happening. So now Bo Nix is getting valued at the highest he's been valued ever, right? And when you're looking at these deals, this is why you go target those quarterbacks, right? And I think even those, when you're looking at profile, first round quarterback, check. Hey, top 15 guy has a chance to start. Those are things you're looking at. And when you're looking at his value out there, I mean, you can get a first now, right, for him. I think the fun one, and I think this is the one that I think the deals out there, Bo Nix for JJ McCarthy. We're going to talk about JJ McCarthy next, but with the injury, man, if I could flip Bo Nix and let's say I'm a rebuilder or that team that got him in the second round, sitting at the early second, just looking for value. If you can flip him for JJ, go do that right now. Do it now. Hit the like button on this video, then get the hell out of here, right? Because I think JJ has more upside, and I think that it's less volatile, right? I mean, Bo Nix could have a couple games where he throws 3 interceptions. Now his values could play, whereas JJ is going to accumulate in value. If you look at what Trey Lance's trajectory was, even when Trey Lance didn't play, he was still getting drafted as a top 10 quarterback, right? That next year. JJ has a possibility of doing that, maybe not top 10, but definitely top 12. He's going to hold that value there. Other ones, Bo Nix for Baker Mayfield. I think that's just it's a weird deal. I'd rather have Bo Nix because I think Bo Nix is Baker Mayfield, right? Bo Nix and, Gardner Minshew in a first. I talked about the Rashee Rice deal. Other ones I think that are just not getting valued correctly. Knicks for David Montgomery, Tajay Spears. You go get a quarterback. If you need a quarterback, that is appropriate value in your Superflex leagues for that. And this is Bo Nix is a perfect example of going out, getting those quarterbacks. Even Michael Penix Jr., we're going to talk about that with their value, and you just hold on to it. Now, next guy here, JJ, he's pivoted. The lowest he was at is right after the injury. He's pretty much plateaued at 43.26, so it's QB20. When you talk about, trades for him, really, like I said, the Bo Nix deal I think is interesting. I know I talked about it last week, when I was looking at other trades. Will Levis has been traded straight up for JJ. I like those guys, those middle, QB2. So, for example, JJ for Daniel Jones and Jameson Williams, a guy that's really looking, I need that quarterback. Hey, I'm willing to give up JJ McCarthy. I was planning on JJ being my QB2/3. I really want to go try to win it. Man, if you can pivot off of Daniel Jones, a Baker Mayfield, a Bo Nix, you go do that, right? That's how you win value, and that's how you kind of win your league, even if it's next year, right? Because JJ is only going to go up in value. You can always move off of them. Some other deals out there, JJ for Brian Thomas straight up. So again, what dudes are doing and what managers are doing out there with JJ right now is if they think they are anything from a mid to possibly contender, they're selling him for cheaper than what they need to, right? They're looking for that immediate production. and that's okay. Use that now. If you need a quarterback, you're in middle of the pack to not contender, JJ is the perfect guy to go grab. Look at this deal: JJ McCarthy, Chuba Hubbard, and Pat Freiermuth. If these are deals that are happening out there in leagues, they could be happening in a league. And again, I'll get some smart ass in the comments says, "Oh, what kind of leagues are these?" In my reality, when I play in leagues, there's no bad offers. Just send it. See what they will accept. You never quite know what that deal is going to accept. What's the worst they can do? Reject it? Okay. But send those deals. You don't know what they're going to do. Now, next one, Michael Penix Jr., sitting there at QB21. Again, he's pretty much peaked in value here. He's dipped a little bit over the last week, but this is kind of the highest value I've seen for him. Again, thinking of Michael Penix Jr., same thing. Second round pick in rookie drafts. Now he's getting valued as a first round pick, in my opinion. And you're looking at some of these deals: Michael Penix Jr., Malik Neighbors for Joe Burrow in a third. If you compare those guys and you need that QB and you really believe in Burrow, that's a great deal. I love Malik Neighbors. He could look like he's going to struggle a little bit this year too. Maybe his value plateaus. That's the big question mark with him, right? Another deal I absolutely like: Michael Penix Jr. at a 27th third for Justin Fields in a second. I like it for both sides. I think it's pretty fair if Justin Fields sees a field this year. But here's the thing. If you're looking to get off of Fields, Michael Penix Jr. is the perfect guy to do it. They're pretty much similar quarterbacks in terms of their trajectory probably the next couple of years, with him sitting behind Cousins and with Fields unknown. This is probably his last true year to try to prove himself as a starter, or else he's just going to be a backup. Other deals in here: Michael Penix in a third for Sam Darnold. So if you have Darnold and you're like, hey, I want to pivot off of Darnold now, he's going to be the starter all year, let me go get a quarterback. I would get more though. Like Darnold second and a second. That's not what I'm giving up there. I want Michael Penix, and I want something back for that too. I go get an asset, go get that wide receiver that you think is going to break out. There's some value to be had there. And then the last guy, let's talk about Spencer Rattler. So this is QB36 here. A lot of people like Spencer Rattler, and I think that when you're looking at it from Derek Carr's perspective, a lot of people think that he's a better quarterback than Derek Carr. I think Spencer's going to get out there this year, right? So at QB36, this is the cheapest he's going to be right now. Before the season starts, Spencer, this is probably the cheapest he's going to be. If Derek Carr doesn't play well right away, they're going to be calling for it. If he gets out there, if he touches the grass as a starter, his value is going to double probably. QB24 is in that range, right? Probably not double. I was a history teacher, but you're looking at that range, it'll be there. Right now, he's pretty cheap. So, thinking of like a second round pick in 2027, he went for that multiple times. When you're looking at Spencer Rattler and Deebo Samuel for Zach Ertz and Baker Mayfield. So that's a fun deal, I think, especially with Deebo getting thrown in there. He's going for 2 4s. He's kind of going all across the board here when you're looking at trades and values and everything there. I think that Spencer Rattler is the type of guy that you go grab right now, and you just stash them, right? When we think of these quarterbacks, look at Bo Nix's value, how it popped up. Look at Michael Penix Jr. Rattler's value is going to pop up. I think he's played very exceptionally well in the preseason. And while it is the preseason, this is a perfect, we've seen this time and time again. If you're a football fan, that Derek Carr, who's always been that middling quarterback that's not great enough to get him to the playoffs, the Saints coaching staff's kind of a train wreck right now. They're looking to save their jobs because he's probably Dennis Allen's probably on his way out after this year, just based on the press conferences we've seen. Oh, what's our last hope? Let's throw in Rattler, see what he can do. If he has a few good games, it might give this staff one more year. And I think that's something to also know when you're thinking of Dynasty. What do they need to get that one more year? Well, put in Rattler. As soon as they do, that's where the value's at. So that's our Dynasty trades for this week. We're looking at the 2024 rookie quarterback class. The season is coming up. We're going to be diving into Dynasty trades throughout the season, looking at that here on the channel. So hit your like, hit that subscribe button, and I appreciate you guys, and I'll check you guys in the next video.